All right. Good afternoon, evening, everyone. I know it's very hot, but not for me. I'm from India. Okay, I feel extremely pleasurable in this weather. Before I start, Peter, why don't I have a fishbowl? Just because I'm a vegetarian, I won't have a fishbowl.
Would you like a fishbowl?
Yeah. I think you should ask
Next
them.
time.
I think you should
Next
ask them.
time we'll have a fishbowl.
All right, so this session is on dreaming and envisioning. So I have a presentation which will have the following contents. Slide 1 will be a boring slide. Slide 2 will be a slide with pictures in it. This will be the slide that I'm really proud of. This is finally to answer the question what CEDEP really actually does, which I believe some of you still don't know. And that will be the last slide. Okay? So this is what we are going to do. I'll speak for about 10 minutes, but I won't speak much. I'll call on others to speak. The first thing is, CEDEP is in the business of leadership development. Now, for a long time, I didn't understand what this term means, but apparently there's a lot of research on this. So what leadership development means basically is this. You know, the growth processes that individuals go through to become more effective in leadership roles. So that's what leadership development apparently means, according to that gentleman, not according to me. Okay? But having said that, it's a very nice, a beautiful definition. And in modern leadership development, of which a lot of us are creators, some of us are consumers, there are 3 aspects. Okay, the first is knowledge development. Okay? You have accumulation of cognitive insights. That's a bad font and a bad background, but an accumulation of cognitive insights. You know, what is happening in the world, what is Bitcoin, what is metaverse, why is everyone screwed because they invested in crypto, stuff like that. Okay, so that is going to be the first one. The second is action taking. Okay, a lot of our programs at CEDEP, it ends with, from insights to action. And there's lots of insights around knowledge that happens, but we move from insights to action, the phrase coined by Nana van Berneth, who's right here. So that's what we do. And the third one, and this is even more important, is identity development. So when we say leadership development, what exactly is someone developing into? It's about individuals becoming better themselves, and of course, influencing others to become better as well. So modern leadership development talks about these 3 things. Now here we are, CEDEP is, I am in the business of executive development. So I'm going to say that executive education helps participants become better at all 3. With a caveat, because I'm also a professional, that it is not necessary to do executive education to develop all 3. Okay, we have a lot of people from the leadership development community here, so please talk to them. But we don't say that because that's our business, and we won't be here if all the other systems work. Okay, so executive education helps people make a shift around all these 3. Now, executive education over the years, the last 50, 60 years that it's developed, it has a few unwritten rules. The first thing is you need to have a great place. Like CEDEP, you need to have a great place. That's the first unwritten rule. Now, what's the second unwritten rule? Huh? Agree? Agree? You need to have great food. Yeah? What's the third unwritten rule? Clive Gallery, what's the third unwritten rule of executive education? You need excellent professors, people who've done something. It helps if the professor is also good looking, but you need excellent professors. Okay? All right. But then there's also another factor in modern executive education, which I call as the T-shirt factor. Okay? So in executive education, T-shirts are also important. Because people want to say between January and March of 2020, I went to a place and I got this T-shirt and put it on LinkedIn. Okay? So the T-shirts are also very important in executive education. Sometimes it's T-shirts, sometimes it's umbrellas, sometimes they are in red colored, sometimes green colored, but T-shirts are also important. Now, originally, I didn't want to use the word here, but my boss, Thomas Intercia, used it thrice, and Muriel Barnier used it once. So what I wanted to say there is, this shit ain't cheap. Okay? Executive education isn't cheap. So these are some of the unwritten rules of executive education that over the years have been developed and have been put up in our business. But then that brings us to ask the fundamental question, how is CEDEP different? And I won't answer this question. Of course, I know the answer, but I won't answer it myself. But I'll call upon a few friends to answer this question. So the first question around content matters, but context matters more. So Vlasta, how long did it take when you said we need a program on digital transformation to eventually the very first session?
So from first session from first hour session to delivery, it took us 6 months.
6 months is what it took from understanding, okay, I need a digital transformation program to all the way delivering on that program. Now, the reason for that is at CEDEP, while we do believe content is important, content is available everywhere here. It's pretty much commoditized today. But a lot of this 6 months was spent on understanding the context in which Bekar, in this case, operates. What is the reality? Where are different people with respect to digital transformation? What is the starting point? And all those kinds of things. And that's what takes 6 months. Not the content. That's very easy. That would have taken 2 weeks, maybe lesser. So there's nothing off the shelf at CEDEP. Because we don't sell content, we understand what is the context in which your people, your leaders, your managers are operating. So that's the first one. Now, the second one is active participation. Do I have Lionel? I saw Lionel Jaye here. Yeah, Lionel is here. Lionel was in the general management program. Yeah? So Lionel, did you have something called strategic challenges in the GMP?
I had many.
Right?
Many of them, yes.
Right?
And by the way, what the most important on this strategic challenge, so I saw Nana was over there, okay. The most interesting in that is that I came with a challenge, and the challenge changed.
Right.
Not because I changed the challenge, but I understood the challenge that I was facing. And this is exactly the process in which we were. So I came with a kind of sentence I thought about a long time. But then after working on the challenge, I understood that this was not really the challenge I had. And then putting new words, understanding better the context of the challenge, completely changed the approach. So that was really very helpful.
Right. And Lionel, and the way strategic challenges work, of course, we can send you more stuff, is that you get a lot of inputs and you have to silently take those inputs, which is something doesn't come naturally to a lot of leaders, right? So that's the strategic challenges. So we believe that participants are not just there to consume knowledge, sit there laid back and judging what the faculty is doing, but we'd like, we design things in a way that there is active participation built into the conversation. The next one is do more with less. Do I have Isabel Page here? Isabel is here. Yeah? So Isabel was recently, a month ago, you were in the AME program, right? So did you get some time to reflect and think about yourself as a leader in the program?
Yes, we did. And I had the opportunity to confront myself with peers, and it was very powerful to have a feedback on what I was and what I became after the AME program.
Thank you, Isabel. Now, the reason why she found space for that is we don't load up the program from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then followed by a guest speaker and then 30 pages of case notes that you need to read by tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. That is not how our programs operate. So that's what I mean here by do more with less. Because the less is not less content or less stuff. The more is about, giving space for people to kind of search within themselves. That's a signature of a CEDEP intervention. Now, the next one is what I would call a spirit of experimentation. I have two of my lovely participants from the MB Live. Where are you? Matthew, Sonia? Can you just stand up, identify yourself? Yeah? Right, so these are the two of the participants of the MB Live experiment that we ran this year, thanks to, can I request David Arnera? We had Yvonne in the class, right? So there's David and there's Stéphane Gouillon. And both of them, actually, L'Oreal and Renault said that, okay, there is this new experiment. We are willing to invest in that experiment. So they were the seed investors for this venture, which we weren't sure whether it's successful or not. And just for you to get a sense, we started by planning 2 programs last year. We ended up doing 5. We planned 6 this year. We are doing 7. And for next year, we are doing 10. Okay, so that's how the program has been. And this is thanks to the investment in this experiment that people have done. There's another grand experiment that is currently happening, which is management and philosophy. We have Jules here. We also had Philip. I think I saw Philip as well. Yeah, so we have, can we bring together a CEO and a philosopher to actually debate on issues of the future? You know, philosophy is about asking questions. So can we do that? So that's another experiment that we are doing, and we are going to know results out of that experiment towards the end of this year. Okay? And finally, can I request all my faculty in the class to just stand? All the faculty at CEDEP to just stand. CEDEP is what it is. We don't have full-time faculty, but CEDEP is what it is because of this open ecosystem of partners, of learning partners, who choose to come and work with us among all the other options that they have. You know, because I can give a lot of reasons, but at its fundamental, it's about a set of people who love CEDEP personally. There's no other emotion that I can describe. I hope we pay them well, but I think it's more than that, right? And more importantly, or equally importantly, it's about trusting members and clients. Of course, we have Sylvie here. For many years, she's been a supporter of CEDEP. We have Lindsay from Garrett. We have all of the clients who are willing to take those experiments, who are willing to trust us with their most interesting problems, so that we help them together to put together a solution. So what is CEDEP? In this final analysis, CEDEP is nothing but a platform which brings together interesting problems, because our clients trust us with that, and puts in place a team of interesting people who can co-evolve a solution to those problems. I wish there was a very simple way of explaining this, but this is the true spirit of CEDEP. Just because something is complex to explain doesn't mean, there's no sense. This is something behind what CEDEP stands for. And of course, this is our mission on our website. It's a long mission. This is the second part of the mission. Why this is important is that our clients are always the organizations. We'd like to help make organizations become better, which in the current scheme of things means more sustainable, more employee-friendly, things like that. Our clients are not the individual learner. So that's the reason we need to understand context. That's the reason we need to do so much of co-design work. That's the reason we'd like long-term relationships instead of transactional responses to requests for quotes. That's what the way CEDEP functions is. I'd like you to take away. This is a quick slide, more operational in the sense we have 3 business lines. The first one is, you all know the names of the OEPs that we do, which is ready-to-learn kind of offerings. The second is we have client-specific offerings, which could again include programs, but increasingly they are also including top-team interventions and things like that. And the third one is we just started a small advisory business with one project with Sanofi. We are likely to scale it up. And we mostly work on 2 horizontals, but you see that very cleverly we put other offerings down below, right? Which basically is a cop-out to say whenever any business comes which is interesting, we will just do that, okay, without limiting ourselves to saying, okay, this is our thing. The reason why we spend so much time on leadership and safety culture today is that that's a space we are extremely good at. I'm willing to challenge you to actually find an equivalent program as leadership and safety culture in the world. You will not. In the world, you will not. Okay? So that's the kind of confidence we have in that space. In terms of, I'd also like you to take away 3 numbers. So this is for 2021. We did 55 offerings of all the 3 types. Out of that 31, around 60% were fully digital. No face-to-face thing, fully digital, some by choice, some by compulsion. And the figure 18%. Can anyone guess the figure 18%? And I'm going to give a gift. 18%. Okay, the comparable figure for Apple is around 27.5%.
What's the gift, Ravi? What's the gift?
The gift of knowledge. All right, so 18% of our programs were absolutely new. So in the sense of when people talk about innovation, one of the metrics of innovation is, how many of, what percentage of your top line came from stuff you released in the last couple of years. So 18% of our programs were absolutely new, something which did not exist before. All right? But yeah, all of this is the present. How many of you were there in a session with Christophe Gillet? Isabel, you were there, I know. So Christophe uses something called this. Okay, so he says, thinking more of the same kills you and your company. Naturally, as CEDEP, we don't want to die. I hope a lot of you also don't want us to die. And which is the challenge that today we are throwing to all of you. Which is, imagine a future offering of CEDEP. How could it look like? So we're not going to spend much time here. We're going to go into groups. I'll explain the mechanics. It could be a leadership development intervention, or it could be something entirely new. What you're going to do is you're going to go into your small groups. We've identified certain spaces, and discuss. There is some note here. I'll give each of you this. And you have to describe your offering on this cube. Okay, this is called a cube. Hope you know. And on this cube, you have to describe this offering. On each of the face, we need one of that. What is the offering? How will it work? What will be the learner experience? In-person, digital, metaverse, maybe whatever it might be. Phase 4, how will it positively impact business and society tomorrow? Phase 5 was forced onto me by my finance head, which is what could be the commercial model of this offering. There is always the option of giving away stuff for free. We don't want to do that. So besides giving it away for free, what would be the commercial model of this offering? And finally, what needs to come true to make this vision come alive? Okay, what are the conditions, or what kind of investments, all those things, What would have to be true to make this dream or vision come alive? So we've split you into 6 groups. So each group will roughly have 8 to 10 people in a very unique way. So Clive, when is your birthday? January is the month your birthday. How many of you here are born in January? Oh, just the one? Oh, there's 2. All right, so can I just request you to stand, the ones born in January? All right, so you'll be with Clive.
I think we should add February into that mix.
Okay, so February.
February as well.
Nana?
Oh, here we go.
Okay, so January and February will be in one team. Then can we request folks, where is this,
And
Moira?
Ravi, that's Team A.
That's Team A.
That team is Team A.
Team A. Moira, you are March. So folks born in March? Nobody's born in March.
March, stand up if you're in March. Not one person except for
Moira.
you are very unique. We're going April as well, Ravi.
Maybe we should add April.
Definitely adding April. We may go to May.
April. Yeah.
We may go to May.
1, 2, 3, 4. Moira, can I ask you to stand as well? All right. And how about May?
Yeah, we'll bring May into this as well.
May? April, May. Can I request April's and May's, March, April's and May's to stand?
That's good.
That's good. All right. So you'll be with Moira. That's Team B.
Team B.
All right. The lovely months of June and July with Professor Jules Godard. Jules, can I request you to stand?
June and July.
Oh, that's a good group. That's a good group. So that will be with Jules, who will also be supported by Muriel. So Muriel, you'll also be with this group.
And that is Group
C. Let's move to Badruber. Which month? August. So August and September. Can I request August and September? Lovely, lovely. So you'll all be with Bart. And finally,
D, that group's D.
that's Group D, October, November, and December.
Just to check, how many are actually in October here? Which is often one of these big months. Okay, there's just 3. Keep
All right.
going, Ravi.
November and December? Oh yeah, so that's a good group. So all of you will be with Muriel. Sorry, Muriel Barnier. All of you have seen her already. So come here, pick the cube,
Not yet. Keep going, Ravi.
right? You will find spaces on the ground floor. They've been designated. Peter will guide you there. You'll be there till about 4:45. I need the cubes back before 5. And then after that, each of you will designate a speaker in your teams who will tell us what they've written on the cube. All right? Off you go.
And there's one little twist for bonus points.
This is the twist.
I haven't told Ravi this yet, even. Team C, for example, come back with what you would like to call your offering, starting with C. Okay? Everyone ready? Bit of music, Antoine. Up we go. Grab your boxes, grab a flyer if you haven't got one, and follow me to the main building.
Right.
Welcome back in, everybody. Thanks, Jean-Luc.
Well, it's definitely stimulated conversation, Ravi. It's definitely stimulated
yes.
conversation. Do you know, one of the beauties of this dome is that you can hear conversations from way over there. You've just really... I've got the secrets and you can get them off me if you'd like to. Well done. We're going to close this part with 2 phases, and therefore you've got 2 instructions. The very first phase, by team A, B, C, D, E. We're going to get 1 or 2 people. 1 at this stage could be fine. You've got just 1 minute. It's a pitch. It's a pitch, which means you do not have time to explain the process you went through, what you talked about, what you proed and conned, how you got to the end point. It's a pitch. So you're going to come up and say, I'm team Zebra, and our big new offering that we think is going to work is going to be this. Okay? Sort of like that. It's a 1 minute pitch. So you can eloquate about what it means, but not about how you got there. Each team in a row, A, B, C, D, E. Then, as the team presents, when A's finished, A takes a place in the fishbowl. Ravi, we've got you a fishbowl. All right? And in here, we're going to talk after the pitches about how you got there. What discussions did you have? And they may have been very similar, and those pitches will tell us whether they were or not. But this is where the rich conversation happens until we close this part of the session. Okay? So one person, starting with team A, to come up and your name and your offering idea. Team A, who's representing A?
Yeah, we're already breaking the rules.
All right, no problem. You're allowed to. Right, but you do only have 1 minute.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so what will make the difference are the people.
This is the only real competitive advantage of the future. So how can we make that this happens and we decipher what is behind the human being so that we create the new world for the future? It's people that make the difference, and it's people the competitive advantage.
And since amazing people don't follow the rules and you cannot box them in, that's why we are 3 persons up here.
Because simply you cannot put amazing people into box. And that's the reason. Thank you.
Team B? I love the dilemma you gave us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you've put me in the position where I look like I've been boxed in like a French school kid, you know, carefully putting letters in the tiny boxes in notebooks. Were you thinking about
Smart
that?
strategy, easily.
Yes, okay. So I'm Mark Hunter, and our group is about building shared purpose. Now, I understand I only have 1 minute to talk about this. So the fundamental idea is to get leadership level people to first be honest about what their personal purpose is, okay, through a combination of various methods, which we needn't go into now. And then to extend that across their organizations and see if it has any coherence with what the people in the organization absolutely care about. Okay, so obviously this will involve research at both ends of that chain, and it will involve some self-critical thinking as well as critical thinking of the people who are involved in the program. That's the idea.
Building
shared purpose.
Very good. Thank you very much. Well done, Team B. And Bert, you're becoming one of the fish.
Oh, I'm supposed to stay?
Yeah, you can, any say you like. Team C? Team C? You can stand up the front if you prefer to not be back here, but...
Yeah. Hi, my name is Elena Soye-Fedorinkova, and in Team C, we believe that the most important thing in the future is to see differently and to react in a very... We don't know what the future will hold, but we know that we will need to adapt fast, to be continuously learning, and to engage different parts in a balanced way of our personalities, of our selfhood, the word that was very important for us. And we should do it by linking together the intellectual, the emotional, and the spiritual entity that we have in each ourselves. And then when we have a more detailed discussion, maybe we have a secret in our box that we can show you later.
I was checking if there was someone or something in that box. Team D? D for dynamic?
Yeah.
Something great.
So where are the D guys and girls? Yeah, over there. So we are going clearly beyond what is CEDEP currently. And the CEDEP is not only a training organization, but is becoming a community. And this is a community for, and we did not exactly found for what, but surely for transformation, for leadership, for gathering expertise. And you as a CEDEP member, you are not only a teacher or a contributor, a professional. You can be everything. You can be a consultant, you can be a teacher, you can be taught. And so everything is completely mixed in order to, let's say, enable all the competencies that are inside. So there is not one role, but you can play every role in this community. And so CEDEP is a marketplace. It's an on-call where you are facing issues as a company in order to bring your leaders to the next level or to find an innovation or a transformation path for your company. So not only we are providing a pipeline, a clear roadmap of training, which is on the shelf, but as well we are providing very tailor-made solution to you. So this will be the next gen CEDEP.
Great. Yep. And team E.
Hello, everyone. So as for us, we came back to the origin of CEDEP, so teach to people who don't know. And we thought a route could be an intergeneration program, mixing future leaders who may think technology will solve everything, but in fact who don't know how to lead, what is a kind of behavior. But on the other side, also leaders who don't know what really are the young generation expectation. And this new mixed program, so we think can bring added value for the society, for the company performance, whatever. And this is our concept.
Great. Thank you. Ravi, invite you into your fishbowl.
Yeah, thank you. I have a mic.
You've got it. Open discussion around how the journey was of the groups to get to that discussion and what was thrown away, what was not.
So let's start with you, Jerome. Let's start with Team E. So how did you come about with this? What was some highlights of the discussion?
Yeah. So it came step by step. We had the idea to teach new generation. And in the end, we thought about camp and someone with CEDEP kids members. But we came back to a down-to-earth solution because we have to sell it. And we thought each generation could learn from each other. Mm-hmm. So instead of bringing a top-down program with theories and so on, we can learn from both sides.
Okay.
And the concept would bring also some theoretical contents, but also simulation, experimentation to prepare the new generation to be well prepared to enter the new world beyond technology, beyond the IT and the digital world.
Right.
And so it came naturally to the discussion.
Okay.
But this is quite new, so mixing both generations into a leading program. And in the end, you can think about mutualized talent research. So
say more. What do you mean by that?
So assuming the fact you bring new talents into the program mixed with leaders. So in the end, this is the purpose is to prepare people, but you can also. So the more the young talents are prepared, so the better they could be to enter the company world and to be good at their job.
Okay.
So mixing. And we thought, bringing and keeping human in the digital world. This was also the ground thinking in the beginning.
Okay. Can I request Group E to stand up, please?
Group E.
Yes, Group E. This is the Jerome's group, right? You're E.
E, yes.
Yeah. So anything you want to add to what he said?
Okay.
Okay. How much will you pay for it?
We said the setup members would be part of the costs.
All right. Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for this. Definitely phase 3, this is definitely useful for business and society in a certain sense, to put it. I hope that was also behind your thinking. What would have to be true in the world? What would have to be true in the CEDEP world to make this happen? Intergenerational, it all sounds good. Anyone from the team can answer it as well.
You talked about involving the kids in developing the program.
Involving kids in developing the program. Say more?
Young adults in the end. So, so bringing together senior leaders and also young talents to design the program. And so what part of the concept.
Okay. What do the others think? Yes, Joanna?
We felt that the primary audience would be kids who are already within the ecosystem CEDEP. So I think the ecosystem would have to be responsive and interested.
Okay. Okay, so we have to create something for the kids of the people in the CEDEP ecosystem. All right. Kids meaning...
Well, we talked about different ages. I think we landed on young, early. I think originally we were thinking even teenagers, and then by the end, I think we decided we were probably looking at an older group. I would say that probably needs more discussion.
Yes, especially, I mean, Clive, are you confident of handling teenagers in the classroom?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, with a big stick.
All right. Thank you, Timmy. That was a very innovative, very interesting thing for us. A round of applause for them. Let's go to you. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
And your team. Can I request your
Yes.
team to stand?
Where are you?
Stand up, please. Yeah. This is Team C, right? D. Sorry, Team D. Yeah.
No, very interesting discussion we had all together. So everything starting around some keywords such as networking, community, ecosystem. I think I heard this ecosystem word again here. And so this was going a little beyond, let's say, the traditional, executive leadership training and so on, to see how we could leverage the level of the talents, the expertise, of all the people we have here in the CEDEP, and trying to leverage not only, let's say, the academics or the traditional approaches that are already on the shelf, but to try to see how the talents could be used from the academics to the professional to the academics, so trying to see how we could be a transformation enabler even more. To the community of the firms that are inside the CEDEP. So this was all around this. So it took us a bit of a time to think about that. So we started by community of, and we said it's a community for. Then after the for should be, let's say, probably work out a little bit more because we did not finalize exactly what was the for, but it was like transformation, expertise, leadership, management. So okay, this is everything around that.
Right.
Yes, I think I summarized a little bit the discussion we had all together.
Okay.
And the idea also of this on-call thing was very powerful, I think. On-call, so I have a problem, I call someone of the community. So maybe there is a window person I can call, and then after he can probably do the network inside in order to say, okay, for this kind of thing, we can deploy this and that. And so this was also, and the marketplace also was powerful to say that maybe we were facing a strategic challenge in one company that could be, let's say, interesting for one another. We were talking about also this mercato thing, so maybe somebody of one company which has an expertise in purchasing could go for 6 months in the another company, or maybe for more. It would depend if it feels okay on the other company. And if he comes back, could be also very powerful for the initial company as well, because he will have learned, obviously, many other things. So it was, yes, around this idea. I don't know if the guys and girls from the group would like to add some additional points. So obviously we would have needed more than 45
the talent exchange
minutes.
is interesting. You said, if he comes back, he can bring a lot. He or she can bring a lot. What if they don't come back? Are you okay?
I think this is a risk we have to play. But anyway, probably if they don't come back, they would probably have left the company anyway.
Okay. What do you think? Talent exchange. Are you willing to send your manager to another company of the CEDEP ecosystem? You're a good talent, not someone.
There can be no greater proof of your love for your company if you have an opportunity to leave, but you stay. There, it's definitely a love story. Anything else means things are kind of more exchangeable.
Right. Lasta, what do you think? You'll send Bekart, head of Digital IO Industry 4.0 to Renault?
you know that we are quite risk averse. So
Yes, yes.
Well, of course, I always look at these things like it's a partnership thing, and in a partnership there is a trust, and that's first. So you invest, but also other side invest. So it's mutual benefit you get from it. So, and I believe it needs to start with the trust, but trust is not a given; it needs to be built. So my answer is it depends if trust is there. If yes, then I believe so. And I also believe that it really can work because CEDEP can create that environment of safe environment for these kind of things. So why not?
Let me put this question to the larger community, because this is something which came up many times. You know, we have a group of companies, why don't we have talent exchange? Does anyone have any thoughts on it? David, you've been a part of the CEDEP community for a long time. Talent exchange, what do you think?
It's an idea that comes up
every few years, right?
Every 2 years, but at the end of the day, there are always obstacles.
Like?
Well, it could be, confidentiality. It could be contracting, the contract. It could be like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it has never been implemented. So there is a lot of, but I see the idea coming and coming again, etc.
So let's ask question 6. What would have to be true for talent exchange to happen among CEDEP member companies? She mentioned trust. Anything else? Anything else that you think?
This may be a good time to shout out. Shout out the word.
Shout out the word.
Or the phrase
Yeah.
that you think has to be in place for this to come true. Trust.
Trust.
Human rights.
Human rights. Belief. Growth mindset.
Courage.
Courage.
Desire.
Desire. The impact of doing it. Fun.
Fun.
And food.
All right.
Sharing.
Thank you. No, that's an idea definitely we'll explore again. As David says, this keeps coming back again and again. I worked in a very large company with lots of SBUs. It's very difficult to move people around even between SBUs of the same organization. So definitely there are practical issues, but we won't talk about that. If we are looking at CEDEP as a space to exchange talent. So that's a very good thought. So thank you, Team D. That's something that we'll explore. Team C. How did you come about this?
We had a very interesting discussion, and I think we had more keywords than the box could hold. So at some time we have to stop. We started by thinking about all the things that are not today in even the most advanced executive education programs, even such as at CEDEP, but which are very powerful, which create very powerful and memorable experiences that people want to share further on once they've had it. So we've come up with different reflections about the link between executive education and art and beauty, and that's where we had a long discussion about how emotions are create impactful and memorable experiences. So for example, some experiences that we had here about music and leadership are definitely, even if it was short, were very powerful and new and created something that influences us even further on. So we continued by saying that even linking educational experiences to something about nature could be an extension of that. So that's where we added culture and nature beyond art and beauty to our cube. And then we had
quite a lot of discussions also about talking to different generations within the education, and that's where the word play came up, because by playing we can maybe achieve more heuristic learning experiences, and children play and then they do something, not because they are told all the rules, but because they discover things as they go, and again it creates something that you remember and that you want to transmit further on to your teams. So once we've had, maybe I will need the help of somebody from the team, because
can I request your team to stand up, please?
Have the.
This is the biggest team, right? Yeah.
We need to manipulate our box.
Yes, please do.
Somebody
manipulate it.
I need somebody. Okay. This one. So this is all these ingredients. This is something that will allow each of us to discover the real meaning and kind of all the hidden potential of our selfhood. This is a Jules world. We wouldn't have come up with such a complex word, but we really appreciate, getting the most of our potential, and that's where we found the hidden gem. It was already there in the box, so we just discovered it. Oh, I know, we just.
You have sealed it. Okay.
So, what we would achieve through this framework with all these ingredients that still have to be combined, because we don't even have a prototype, is 1, 2, 3. Yes, just imagine that there is a big light coming out of the box, and that's what we want to achieve. We want to have the inner light of each person discovered through this new way of building things together, so that this inner light shines all the time, even during crisis times, difficult times, etc.
Thank you. Thank you. Since you're talking about stuff like inner light and all, I won't even dare to ask if you thought of a commercial model of this. Okay, so we'll...
well, you said it will be a framework, and this is a scalable framework.
All right.
So the thing is that people can learn it here in CEDEP, but then it is something that they can easily replicate within their organization.
Right. Let me call Jules in here, because he co-directs, and I think Philip was also around, with on management and philosophy. What are 2, 3 lessons from management and philosophy that can be there for leaders? When you've written an entire book, so 2 or 3 of it.
Well, I think the notion of playfulness is extraordinarily important. Doing something that's pleasurable in its own right, abandoning all notions of purpose, objective, and goal. That's the death of life. Love has its own quality. Love has its own rewards. So does generosity. So does painting a painting, or composing a symphony, or playing a string quartet. We do it for the love of what it is, the worth of what it is. And in business, the great fault is that we keep doing things for a purpose beyond the activity, and that's why work is so frustrating and so boring. Serving somebody else's objective is not the notion of a good life, and that's why we introduce this notion of selfhood, discovering the person we were always meant to be. And to find a context, CEDEP should be discovering with others, particularly with children, a context in which we can be ourselves. And in being ourselves, we find others with whom we would love to work, who inspire us. And the collective is simply those who choose to work together, to do something they can only do if they're working together. So we don't work for the organization works for us. And we get the means-ends relationship right. That's what we meant by playfulness, art, and selfhood.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jules. Mark and team. Can I request the team to just stand up for a sec?
Stand and deliver, folks. We're facing a stiff hill, thanks to Jules. So the title of our idea was Building Shared Purpose. Okay, now. So to play safe, I'll go back to the process first. Okay, Moira asked us to put a number of ideas down. You know, just anything that occurred to us, whatever we thought was important. Okay, we did the ideas, and then we put them up and we clustered them. We found 3 clusters. One of them had to do with digital technologies, channels of communication of digital technologies. A second one had to do with stakeholder, pardon me?
Hold it closer.
Closer to my mouth? Oh my goodness, it's like a rock and roll show. Okay. The second one had to do with stakeholder relations. Okay. Much with employees, and a second set that had to do with people outside the organization who are related to the organization's fortunes. A third set had to do with motivation, purpose. Why are you doing this? What is your purpose for the organization? And making the bridge between 2 clusters, we rejected the digital cluster as an outlier for the moment. Okay. We came back to the cluster of the purpose of the leadership and the perception of that purpose within the rest of the organization. The organization understood in a large sense, Sophie Achard, was speaking to us about her experience at Renault, where Renault has an entire ecosystem of suppliers around it, okay? There's a lot of people there, and if they're not particularly engaged in the organization, something goes wrong. So we were looking at this and thinking about what has to happen to make the connection between leadership and the rest of the organization in terms of a shared purpose. Now, if I understood you correctly, Jules, what you were saying was that if the purpose is shared, this conflict between the self and the organization is at the very least ameliorated and at the very best eliminated. Did I understand you correctly? Whew, that's a relief. Okay. So we were thinking, how do we make that connection? And we thought of a couple of preconditions. One is that getting people in a leadership position to speak honestly and frankly about their purpose for either themselves or the organization is not always a day at the beach. Okay, I can add some personal testimony on that. I'm an investigative reporter. I've interviewed thousands of people, and I've hardly ever found anyone who was straight up about their motives at the outset. Okay, so it would involve contact with the person before the event began, to explore, to critique, to push, to facilitate, whatever it takes. Then we think that it would ideally involve not confrontation, but, shall we say, conversation between other people in a leadership position. Finally, it would involve some kind of research into the organizations to see what is the perceived purpose of this organization and are we aligned with it. Now, Sophie made very clear that, particularly in the wake of the pandemic, this is not a soft issue. It's not an abstract issue. In fact, the term she used was urgent, that people are moving. And, you know, I don't know about the French economy as well as the American economy for various reasons. But, you know, there was a great migration out of American enterprises in the wake of the pandemic. People are now settling into other organizations. But there was a lot of mobility, and I learned today that it's happening in France as well. So this question of whether or not people actually feel like they're doing something with their lives by working with an organization beyond simply bringing home a paycheck, and whether or not it's something they can give themselves to or something they want to run away from, is actually fairly important at this moment. So the program we envision would try to bring those two ends of the chain together and see what's happening between them and see if they can work together. The format it would take, it's not going to be a classic classroom situation according to the way I just described it, but it will involve some interesting research within the organizations and with the leadership of those organizations, and to that extent it will certainly be customized. So that's about all I can usefully say. If anybody else in the group wants to add to that, please do. Thanks, Moira.
Thank you, Mark.
Wow.
Team A, the one with the two facilitators. Can I request you to just stand? All right. Oh, yeah, it was yours, right? So your process, yeah.
It's the team.
It's the team. It's the team. Yeah.
All the members of our team were
It's amazing team.
Come up.
Yeah. Come up. Yeah.
It's amazing people. It's not an individual. It's a team. You know, it's all about team.
Exactly.
Yes. We're missing Garrett. Where is Garrett?
That's Francie.
So process was simple. We simply just wrote something on a box, and that's it. But actually, it started with a very good, I would say, brainstorming, a lot of ideas, a lot on the topics, I would say. But then I would say colleague Sylvie brought a very, I would say, important topic to the table, that it's actually everything about people. And she says about amazing people. And I let Sylvie maybe to explain more the original idea behind that, which I would dare to say could nicely wrap all the ideas which were put here on the table. We were just nodding a bit like, that's it. We actually could nicely pack with that approach the ideas which were mentioned here. So Sylvie, please.
In fact, what we said is we do not know what is the future and what will be the future challenge of organizations. But what we know is we work on the people side, people will make the difference. And I say people just to be large, because it's about a lot of things around people. And we said that in this world where everything is going with speed, you know, all of that complexity, etc., working on that powerful secret of human and people, and giving leaders the possibility to experiment, to learn, eventually to live some particular experience that are modeled in the CEDEP and that can go within the organization with it, is the role that CEDEP can play. Because there is something about learning around people that goes really beyond what is taught at the moment in all business schools. So of course, people learn to know each other, etc. But the power of the collective aspect, how you do you really listen to the people and to the insight, how to create the conditions so that the teams are really powerful teams and they are engaged and they want to do it. So it's beyond execution. It's beyond, okay, what is behind this secret of people and the collective aspect of it. It's not only recruiting the best talent. I mean, amazing people is not amazing individuals. There are new ways that can be experimented here in CEDEP, new ways of listing. Experimentation was part of the methodology. In fact, we said it could be a continuous evolving program. Whatever the topic we put in it, we experiment with this emotional part that some of you spoke about, with artists, with startups, with young generation, etc. The idea is to live an experience and to learn that there are new ways of leveraging the power of people in organization as well. And you come back in the organization stronger than before because you have learned new things about how does this work. And not, the thing on the surface, which is the things that we teach a lot within business school, the techniques, the dialogue, the smart things, etc., etc. But a deeper knowledge on human beings. So it will be philosophy, sociology, anthropology. There are things that are not taught, but that can really help leaders to live something else. Experiment new ways of dialogue that we live in the countries where there is war, etc. There's some experimentation that you can live as a person and a team and an ecosystem that you can bring as a new resource for you within the organization. So the reason why we call it amazing people, it's amazing individuals, amazing teams. Amazing people will create the world that we want tomorrow, but then we have to learn something together because it's not taught really at the moment. Okay. So the program is in fact a continuous evolving program, leveraging the power of people and a larger ecosystem of people with different skills, etc. And the place is CEDEP because CEDEP knows how to do it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvie.
So now you ask us what would have to be true to make that happen, right?
No, I am not asking that because we are out of time. But Nana, you have the mic. I can't stop you. Go ahead.
Okay. He can never stop me. So what would have to be true, and I make it very short, I think I look at each and every one of you in the room. What we would need to make this come true is your courage. Because there won't be a drum where it's written on Monday do we A, on Tuesday we do B, and on Wednesday we do C. It is an evolving program that will be based on what we will surface from the discussions and the sessions we have with participants. So a huge mindset of all the people in organization is needed, that you don't have an exact timing, you will not know next week where the place is, you will not know who's going to teach the week after, and you will not know what the subject will be, because this will be decided just a few days before based on what we learn. Thank you.
Absolutely. A big round of applause to all the teams. Thank you, everyone, for coming forward with both your brains and your hearts, more importantly, your hearts, being very open, having good discussions. CEDEP is all about the power of the collective, so there's no way we could have had such wild dreams that all of you have had. We'll take all of this together, a lot of the notes that you've discussed. I will be getting back to all of our facilitators, and we hope to bring a few of these dreams alive. Thank you, all of you.